Hey guys, it's Renee here. Welcome back to my channel, The Feminine Woman. Okay, so it's been a little while since I've uploaded a video, especially a nature walk one. So I thought today I would take you on a little walk with me around my neighborhood. We'll go this way. And the topic of today's video is, should women control their emotions in order to be high value? And if it's okay, I just wanted to give you a little bit of context for this question. So this will take me 30 seconds. I'm just going to read out this paragraph that I have printed on a piece of paper. It was actually a screenshot taken from some book or article that was shared in my Facebook group. It's since been deleted by the original poster, so I don't know the author of this book or article. All I can do is read out the paragraph for you. I'm sorry if I'm puffed out. I am almost 37 weeks pregnant, and you can see I randomly get puffed out. I don't know if my uterus is making random contractions or what, but pregnancy is just one of those weird things. Okay, so I'm going to read the paragraph out now. When a guy tests you, he's really looking to see how secure you are and how well you can handle yourself and your emotions. If you lose control, you will confirm his preconceived notion that all women are crazy and too emotional. Oh, that part makes me laugh. Keep your cool and handle yourself with dignity, and he will think he has finally found the diamond in the rough. At last, a woman who will let me breathe. I'm hanging on to this one and never letting go. Okay, so there's a couple of concerns I have with this particular statement and paragraph. The first is the use of the word control. I am not of the belief, after my many years, 11 years actually, this month, maybe today, 11 years of helping women, writing for women, getting feedback from women, the last thing a woman should do is try to control her emotions in the majority of contexts. Now, I would argue that there's a few select contexts in which she should control her emotions. For example, at work, in order to be productive. And for example, on a first date, you don't want to unleash a whole bunch of stuff on a first date. However, I still take issue with the word control, because when men, and a lot of men do typically say this, women need to control themselves, they need to be less emotional. When a masculine soul asks that a feminine soul control her emotions, what he's asking is for her to be more manageable and for her to fit into the box that he sees is more convenient and less energy intensive for him to deal with. Here's the truth. Now, I know there's men, big tail men actually, and women who watch my videos. Whether you're a man or a woman, the last thing you want to do is ask for a woman to control her emotions. Why? Because to try to control your emotions means that inevitably they will come out at some later stage. Emotions are not meant to be controlled, they're meant to be felt. In fact, it's not the emotions and feeling the emotions that do any damage. It's the effect of trying to oppress them and control them that causes the damage. It's the effect of making them wrong that makes women have emotional outbursts that are irrelevant to the present moment. Now, I want to give the paragraph some credit here as well. I want to say that I completely respect and understand that the masculine souls of the world want freedom. They don't want to feel a woman abusing them. They don't want to feel a woman just taking out her emotions and resentment on him out of nowhere. And fair enough, there's a lot of men who have had to deal with some very abusive women. And most men don't speak up about it. So they're kind of just stuck there alone, having to deal with a woman who has no sense of responsibility for herself and for the relationship. A lot of men have had to deal with women who wallow in victimhood. This makes them very difficult to deal with. But this is a very different thing to asking a woman to control her emotions. It's not the solution. The least you could do as a man is to come up with a proper solution. Just because it's more convenient for you that a woman is predictable, because your masculine world is so dead and mainly predictable. Sorry, I lost trail of what I was saying. I was just saying, masculine souls like control. They live in a different kind of world. Now, we all have masculine and feminine within us, of course, but regardless of what a woman does or what a man tries to get women to do, the masculine souls of the world are always going to get to a point where they feel like the woman is crazy. Because to a man, a woman is crazy, and here's why. She has every right to be crazy, because provided she's not on the pill or on any kind of hormonal birth control or hormonal supplements, every woman is unpredictable and emotional at some point. And there's a good reason for that. And the reason is because her body spends enormous amounts of energy trying to maintain her womb and her ability to give and nurture life. Now, at each point in the cycle, as her cycle progresses, there's different hormones that govern the effectiveness of her womb and her ability to conceive and carry a child. So before ovulation, she might be one kind of woman. After ovulation, she may seem like a different kind of woman. At any point in the cycle, she may be subjected to her body opening the floodgates to all kinds of emotions that men would have, all kinds of hormones that men would have no clue about. Men never have to carry a womb. They never have to produce eggs. They never have to carry a child or breastfeed a child. And not only that, they never have to be as hyper responsive to a baby and to a toddler, especially in its first 2 years, that a woman does. So the last thing you should do is assume that the best thing for a woman is to just handle herself in a way that shows that she's fully in control. Because women can't always be in control. They are naturally vulnerable. Having a reproductive cycle automatically means she's not in control. She's naturally vulnerable. And in order to be a feminine soul, and in order to successfully be hyper responsive and attuned to her children, her family, her husband, and her friends, a woman has to be sensitive. And this kind of sensitivity, this feminine sensitivity, is not only something that most men don't relate to. Men are sensitive in a different way, usually. It's highly necessary for a woman to be a good mother. If a woman didn't feel her own emotions, she could never be a good mother. And there's good reason for that. It's because she can't resonate. If a woman hasn't felt what a certain vulnerability within herself feels like, she could never resonate with her child and respond and be there and be attuned and be deeply giving and resourceful in response to her child. And not just children. I know there's plenty of women out there these days who don't want children. But what about your friends? What about your family? What about your man? Women have to be sensitive, have to pick up on the little nuances and the social cues in order to have successful relationships. If a woman can't even be sensitive to herself and to let herself feel, then how is she supposed to be emotionally resourceful and nurturing to anyone else That's my question to you. So the answer is yes. There are going to be times where a woman is really happy. And to all the men out there, it might surprise you that maybe in 5 minutes from now, she's suddenly angry. That's because the moment's changed. Something else may have caused her to feel that way. And that's perfectly normal. Women are highly sensitive beings. Our skin is, I don't know how many more times sensitive than a man's. And that's just how it is. If women weren't highly sensitive, then we could never calibrate ourselves in a social situation. Now, this is not to say that men aren't also sensitive. As I said, they are. Not only because they also have feminine inside them, but because men have to be sensitive in order to be successful hunters and in order to be successful entrepreneurs. If they were completely dumb and thick, they could never be successful, because you always have to be feeling and responding to the market that you're in as an entrepreneur, and you have to be responding to what's needed at work. But this is a very different kind of sensitivity. Women are vulnerable to not only the hormones in their own cycle, but they're inherently vulnerable when they come into a relationship with men. And here's why. They're inherently vulnerable to becoming a little out of control, because here's why. If a woman invests herself and gets attached to a man, she risks incredible amounts of energy, mind-boggling amounts of energy, in order to carry his child. And that's very, very risky. It's just as risky as a man investing emotionally, financially, and psychologically in one woman. Think about that for a second. So as a man, no matter what woman you date, I don't care how long she keeps this in control facade for, she is going to have a crazy moment. She's going to lose control. And unless you have a bad woman, every woman is going to do that at some point. So don't expect to just try and oppress the feminine because it's better for your masculine world. It just doesn't work that way. That's like women trying to turn men into women and disrespecting their caveman time. Their man cave time. As a woman coming into contact with a new man and dating a man, her body and her soul and her hormones, her mind, her entire being perceives, often for most women before her mind perceives, the great risk involved. If she gets attached, if she has sex with a man, then there's a high likelihood in nature, at least before birth control, that she'll end up pregnant. And as a woman who's now in my third pregnancy, I can tell you, pregnancy is no walk in the park. And I don't mean in terms of pain, no, that's the least of my concerns personally. It's the resources, the extra resources required to sustain the pregnancy to begin with. Like right now, I'm almost 37 weeks pregnant and I'm so well fed. I have access to the cleanest cooked seafood, any kind of seafood that I would like. I have cooked prawns, cooked oysters, bacon, the best cuts of meat, tomahawk steak, chicken wings, all the best vegetables and fruits, seasonal fruits, fresh fruits. And I can still want to swallow my toothpaste when I brush my teeth at night. It's just, it feels like I have a hollow well that just wants to be constantly stuffed full of nutrients. And that costs money, time, energy, and effort. That's a big risk. If you want to have a healthy child, you have to, as a pregnant woman, maximize not only your nutrition, but the emotional commitment that you get from a man. And because as a woman you're going to be emotionally attached earlier than most men, of course a woman is going to seem crazy to a man, because she's the one who has to carry the responsibility of being the woman, carrying the child, holding the eggs, raising that child if she falls pregnant. And it's the woman who has to invest all this emotion in the man in order to inspire him to commit, but also to ensure the best for her future offspring. If she's not with a man who can be emotionally attuned to her, who can at least handle a little bit of her emotional changeability, then what worth is that man in her life? Literally nothing. So what I'm trying to say is, it's not a good thing to use the word control in the context of women controlling, having emotions. Women are too emotional at the best of times. And sometimes they're not. Sometimes you might find they're quite consistent. But they're never going to be as in control of their emotions as men, because men just don't have the same emotional range as women. And part of being a woman is having the ability to feel and the ability to acknowledge that she doesn't feel in control. That vulnerability is what eliminates the bad men as well from her life, the ones who won't commit. Now, as I said before, there is a distinction between abusing a man and feeling your emotions. So maybe the better thing to ask women to do is to acknowledge their primary emotion, acknowledge that when they're scared, instead of abusing a man. Acknowledge that they feel like they've failed, instead of blaming a man. Acknowledge that this all feels too hard and too vulnerable, instead of texting a man 50,000 times in one day and telling him about all the obligations he has towards her. No, actually, perhaps it's not about the obligations he has towards her, but it's about how she feels. She feels a bit out of control. Isn't that a lot healthier than just telling a woman, you should be in control of your emotions so that I as a man can feel like my life is more predictable? Because the minute you do that, you're actually committing to her having an emotional outburst, the kind that you don't want to deal with, the kind of vile emotional outburst that women can have when men deliberately try to oppress the unpredictability and sensitivity of the feminine. So, I did say I was going to go on a nature walk, and I've kind of just sat down here and spoken for a while. Sorry, guys. But, so this is a 17-minute video already. I hope that has explained a few things, because I feel like I've ranted on for a bit. But let me know what you think. I've also written an article on this. It's on thefemininewoman.com, same title, and this video will be embedded there. But do let me know what you think, and let me know if you understand what I'm saying. Because for one, personally, I'm sick of masculine men trying to oppress the feminine so that they can control a woman and feel less threatened by a woman's emotions and vulnerability. Not only that, but I'm also sick of the reverse. I'm sick of women having all these rules for how men should show up for them when they're not willing to be vulnerable, when they're not willing to invest to themselves. So let's try to control the opposite sex a little less, and maybe lead with our understanding. Try to actually understand what the world is like from the masculine perspective or the feminine perspective if you're a man. Try to lead with that. Try to understand what the opposite sex actually has to go through. Try to respect their pain and the risk they take when they invest and start dating you. Because once you do that, you can relax a little and stop having all these rules that essentially keep people at bay and push people away and make you end up lonely. Because here's the truth, the best men in the world completely respect and appreciate a woman who can feel. And the best women in the world completely respect a man's need to be a man, to go out and hunt, to have his own personal time, to recharge, to do things that may seem completely crazy to her, like live on the edge, like take enormous risks, like not call her and talk as often as she would like, because ultimately that doesn't fill him up as a man. Men and women are generally filled up by different things, and they can have needs in common when they're in love. But if we don't lead with our understanding, the chances of the opposite sex falling in love with us and investing in us are a lot lower, because then all you're left with as a man or a woman is basically yourself and your rules for how other people should be for you. Oh, God, I can talk a lot. Okay, so I guess that's it for this video. Leave me a comment and let me know if you like this video, this format, and I'll speak to you guys soon.